tourism development, and the politics of national prosperity. You can adjust the language according to your preference. Choose the program that suits your needs from the playlist. Customize the subtitle position on your laptop, and adjust the video speed with the slider to suit your needs and comfort. Let's grow together through your subscribe and like on this video.
In many regions, dogma surrounding unlimited growth has eclipsed ecological caution. When coastal ecosystems are emaciated by overdevelopment, leaders frequently resort to euphemism rather than explicit admission of policy failure. The efficacy of tourism policy depends not only on revenue, but on equitable distribution across every echelon of society. An egalitarian framework requires governments to enumerate both visible gains and endemic costs. While politicians deliver eloquent encomium to national success, empirical data may elicit more sobering conclusions. Tourism can elevate a nation's international standing, yet it may engender inordinate entitlement among political factions. In some countries, factions grandstand hotly, creating a fracas that impedes coherent regulation. The interplay between market forces and regulatory frameworks is an enigma to many observers. Dubious investment schemes sometimes dupe fledgling entrepreneurs. Duplicity in licensing processes can foster iniquity and erode public trust. When bureaucratic hierarchy becomes impermeable and impervious to reform, small businesses struggle with indigence. An impasse emerges between policymakers and citizens. Some officials remain impassive, while others fulminate in invective against critics. In exigent economic downturns, governments search for expedient incentives to enhance investor confidence. However, fallacious projections may exacerbate debt burdens. Erroneous forecasts, if not expurgated from policy documents, can eclipse credibility. Tourism planning must incorporate heterogeneous communities. A homogeneous strategy risks being insular and intransigent. Leaders must hearken to indigenous voices and eschew ersatz participation programs, designed merely to ingratiate international observers. Where iniquity persists, insurrection may not be imminent, but dissent will foment. An indefatigable civil society often seeks to edify policymakers through exhaustive reports and empirical findings. Economic resilience depends on frugal fiscal husbandry. To fortify infrastructure, governments must garner capital without gouging taxpayers. Inasmuch as tourism revenues are ephemeral, states must avoid impetuous spending that may implode under fiscal pressure. Consider nations once considered halcyon tourist havens. Over time, erratic governance and egregious corruption eclipsed their reputations. Dubious contracts were interred in opaque archives, and ersatz sustainability reports flouted scientific consensus. A credible tourism economy must facilitate transparency. It must foster equitable access and incorporate intrinsic cultural heritage. Without fidelity to local ethos, tourism becomes merely a florid facade. In some contexts, iconoclast reformers challenge hoary regulatory structures. Their invective may sound incendiary, yet their intent is to elevate standards rather than to harrow institutions. Policy debates often become fractious. Grandiloquent speeches obscure the gist of the matter. In such moments, it is germane to remember that tourism is not an abstract commodity. It is a lived experience shaped by diurnal labor and generational gestation. Governments must avoid doctrinaire rigidity. Instead, eclectic approaches can dovetail conservation and development. Empirical evaluation enhances efficacy and forestalls grievous policy failure. If policymakers equivocate or hedge excessively, uncertainty will flag investor enthusiasm. Conversely, if they are imperious and intransigent, they may alienate communities. In a globalized economy, tourism diverges along geopolitical lines. Some regimes cultivate hegemony over regional travel flows. Others, more modest and frugal, cultivate niche markets with fastidious attention to environmental limits. At its acme, tourism can elevate human understanding and edify cultural exchange. At its nadir, it can exacerbate inequality and impair ecosystems. The political challenge is to reconcile economic incentive with ethical responsibility. Only through equitable regulation, empirical vigilance, and indefatigable civic engagement can tourism remain both lucrative and legitimate. As tourism expands, political tensions often diverge across ideological lines. Reformists may attempt to divest corrupt intermediaries from licensing systems, while entrenched elites resist such restructuring. When regulatory capture becomes endemic, dubious procurement practices multiply, and duplicity corrodes institutional credibility. Scandals can erupt suddenly, eclipsing prior achievements. In several nations, egregious graft and infrastructure contracts led to inquest proceedings at the highest echelon of government. Parliamentary factions fulminated hotly, each attempting to exculpate their allies and impugn rivals. In the aftermath of such crises, public trust may emaciate. Citizens grow dyspeptic toward official narratives, especially when leaders equivocate or offer ersatz reforms, designed merely to ingratiate foreign investors. When transparency is absent, even empirical evidence is construed as partisan. The tourism economy, once halcyon, can quickly become dormant. Half-built resorts stand fallow along pristine coastlines. Investors, glacial in their response, hedge commitments. Small enterprises, already impecunious, struggle to forage for survival in an increasingly intractable regulatory environment. Political discourse during these moments often becomes incendiary. Demagogues deliver grandiloquent harangues, fomenting resentment against foreign stakeholders. Such rhetoric may garner fleeting applause, yet it exacerbates structural fragility. In truth, tourism regulation requires equanimity rather than frenzy. An impartial framework must incorporate heterogeneous stakeholders, multinational corporations, environmental advocates, and municipal officials. Without such interplay, policy becomes insular and counterproductive. An exigent fiscal environment demands frugal stewardship. Governments must husband limited resources, fortify public infrastructure, and forestall systemic collapse. Incentive structures should be feasible, not fanciful. Explicit rather than ambiguous. Internationally, tourism governance intersects with geopolitical hegemony.